I suppose if you don't know where any food is to buy to heal yourself, even though there's a million stores, and there's even designated areas of the game that are marketplaces for you to go, like, you have to have not explored anything. Like, you just never pressed up. You see people coming out of open doors and stores, but you just never went in there. You know what I mean? And again, from Hyper Light Drifter, I have another post. That's okay. This game isn't difficult. It's poorly designed. Lack of healing items, not fully restoring your health after death, poor checkpoints, no invincibility frames on your dashing, which clearly this person's a Dark Souls player. You can't dash through enemies. Why do you need to do that? And the list goes on. It's frustrating since it gets so much else right. Which in this case, looking at this comment, the game is not poorly designed at all. Lack of healing items. Every room you go into has like at least one or two. Like,
I never had a problem with it. Right.
You can just hit a box and there's usually stuff there. Right. Not restoring your health after a death. And like, I see that happens. I don't think it happens anymore. But at one point, like if you went into a room with 1 health and you died, you would respawn with 1 health. That I get. Right. Poor checkpoints. If you enter a room, that's a checkpoint every day. So you go into an area, yeah, you might open a door, next spot, like the next screen, like think Zelda, right? Like imagine if you had a checkpoint in The Legend of Zelda every time you left the screen. Like that's what Hyper Light Drifter pretty much does. And no invincibility frames on your dashing. Not every game is the same, right?
Right.
Like, and you can't dash through enemies. Why is that how is that a valid complaint?
You know what? I would be interested to know how old this person is. And the reason I'm saying that is, and I'm pretty sure you guys are already aware of this, when we were younger, we had games. First of all, there was no such thing as the internet to look up things. Or let me check out YouTube and get some tips. It was, you need to, first of all, read the instruction book. That is your really only source. And of course, you always read it on the ride home, from Toys R Us. That was the coolest thing. But you had to play the game. You've lost, you died, you did it again. And you kept doing it. And that was the point of the game. And I just don't know if kids now, but, people that didn't grow up with NES or even Super Nintendo, they had to go through that struggle. Right. So they just aren't used to that anymore. So I would be interested to see how old this person is, but I think that's just a common thread now.
There was a person who posted, I don't have the quote, but it started out with, "I'm 33." Like, I went to these discussion areas and typed in the word hard and just kind of saw what popped up, because I knew they would be there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, I like your retro your retro comment, because if you look at a game like Contra, like I can beat Contra in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. But as a kid, or even as an adult now, who's like for instance, Vincent, my wife's younger brother, guy wasn't ready for it. And he sat there, he played the game for like 3 weeks, so he got really good at it because he wanted to play it, because we got the world record on Twin Galaxies for co-op. And he got really good, but how long did it take him to beat it? How many hours did he go to level 3, couldn't beat it, and died? So how long the games were back then versus you wanting to try to beat them, or like a game like Life Force, like that's not your average person's game. That game is tough. Yeah. That game is tough. So I could see that definitely being a thing. And if you go back even further, like arcade games, you put a quarter in a Donkey Kong, 40 seconds, right? Maybe a minute. I think Billy Mitchell said your average Donkey Kong game is less than a minute. Like, what do? Do you walk away?
Well, look at Gauntlet. You're putting in a quarter. That's your health, and your health is constantly counting down. Yeah. So.
Go ahead. Then I've got a point. You just brought it up, having to do with time. So.
Okay. Chris, how do you feel about these comments on Steam?
I'm going to go back to what Corey was saying with like retro gaming. I mean, when I was a kid, my cousin and I, Jackie, were trying to beat Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, how do you do that? When you're young, we play a game, like you were saying, you play a game for days and days and weeks, and you can't beat it, so you keep going back. But there's no way to save. Back then, there was no save states. There was a handful of games that had the batteries in it, like Zelda, like Link to the Past or whatever. Not Link to the Past.
Or like passwords.
Yeah, like there was something to do that, but like there was nothing in Super Mario. So we didn't want to use warp whistles, so we kept the Nintendo on, like we kept it plugged in and on. And then your mom comes by, she's cleaning, and she presses it and turns it off. Oh, you left your Nintendo on all day.
Or she hits it.
There's a reason.
I left it on because I wanted to beat it. What are you doing? So like that existed. Nowadays, if I play a game and there's no way to save, I don't even play it. Like Fallout is awesome. I hit F2 and it auto saves. Like I don't know if I don't have the time anymore. I'm being older. I only have so much time in my life to play games. I need to be able to save often and frequently. Otherwise, I find I don't want to do that anymore,
I feel like in a game, well, I'm going to say Fallout's a bad example. Like, you're not beating Fallout in a sitting, right?
Right.
But Hyper Light Drifter, that could be, if you speed run it, right, you would have to know it, because there's some searching involved.
Oh, yeah.
Those bits. What, 6-7 hours? Like, that's a long sitting. If you went through Mario 3, though, that's not a short game by NES standards if you didn't warp. Like, to go through all the levels, it's not short, I don't think. I don't know how long it would take, but I wouldn't say it was short. Like, Contra's short. Life Force is short. Battletoads is short, if you're good at it.
So nobody beats Battletoads. Let's just,
Yeah, and that's why, you know what, I really wasn't even going to bring Toads up, because that's like the one where people get frustrated. But that's I get, because that game is somewhat poorly designed. The challenge is fair, but it is kind of poorly designed. Like, look how poorly designed Ghosts and Goblins is for Nintendo. Like, it just doesn't play well. It doesn't play well. But yeah, so I feel like it's interesting to me that so many people, and this is the next thing that I wanted to go to, but Corey, let's actually go to you first. You want to talk about time?
Yeah, actually, Chris, you brought up the point too. You physically just said it yourself. You're like, if there's no save state now, I'm not playing it. Right. And I think the reason being is because there's so many options out there now. There's so many games out there. And I feel that developers, as much as they shouldn't cater to individuals playing their games, they're almost forced to now. If someone wants to play your game and it's too difficult for them, right? I want a casual mode. What are you going to do? Say no to them, suck it up? Because there's those difficult games, like you said, to the extreme, those Dark Souls. They're known to be difficult. And people that pick that up want that challenge or know what they're facing. Everybody else, they just want to play a game. And if it's not to their liking or difficult, or they have to put time into it, they're just going to pass and pick up another game, or pick up a Humble Bundle, or pick up a game for $2 just to entertain them. So it's like these developers are fighting for this entertainment that we're just in that society now that you can get anything you want. And if it's not exactly to your liking, I'm going to bash it and I want to move on. And that kind of ruins a lot of games nowadays, I feel. And I'm going to jump into it now about, like, For Honor. I love the game. I really like it. But what did they just do? They caved to people because they whined too much.
Right, with the guard breaks, right?
No, not even the guard breaks. With just, here's like a taunt, a cosmetic thing in game. Yeah. Okay, so there's Doug, correct me, there's 12 characters, right?
There is 12.
4 for each faction.
Correct.
I play 2 of them. And if I play the game, I'm going to just unlock probably the 2 guys that I play. I don't really care about the other 10. I don't need to have all the taunts and cosmetic flashy things that don't do anything in game for the other characters. But guess what? Everyone complained about how much steel or how much currency in game it would take to play and unlock everything. And they whined so much that the developers felt like they need to make it easier to achieve this. What for? Just to make people happy? Like, I guess that's a good thing, but just take that and take a step back from video games. It's just the way our society is now. If it's not exactly how I like it, I'm bashing you on the internet, I'm bashing you on Facebook, and I'm never going to play it again. And even though it's a good game, my friends might not play it because I said, it sucks, it's too hard, or I can't get exactly what I want. Pay no attention. And developers, unfortunately, have to cater to those individuals because that's the mass market now.
Especially, I could see that as far as an indie market goes. People did mention that they liked the way the game looked and sounded. You know what I mean? For Hyper Light Drifter, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
They loved the way it looked and sounded, but it was too hard. But it's such a funky balance there because coming from a person like me, like I would say like I'm a good video game player. You know, I'm not AGDQ level. You know what I mean? Like I'm not running through Super Metroid in 15 minutes. I'm not that guy. I may still have a world record on Twin Galaxies.
You're not helping your argument by saying that.
Yeah.
Right, but there's a very big distinction between those guys and even me.
Yes. Right. So okay. I know you're gonna say like every game now, I just play on hard. I don't play it on normal anymore. I feel like I feel like I have to do that.
There's usually 3 difficulties. Well, in the past, right? So now there's sometimes 5, which is like hold forward. I want to try a little. How the game should be played, a little bit harder, and dumb. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I usually play harder. I usually go the one I can get closest to the hardest with. And if it's too hard, I usually keep playing it. There was a game that broke me, actually. Straight up. Max Payne 3. I tried to play that game on hard, and I got maybe 20, 30 minutes in, and was like, whoa. Like, I can't move without dying. And even like the Call of Duties, I never played those on veteran, man. I know people run through it. I get shot by people. I don't know where they are. Like, it's just not for me, but I'll go the next level down.
Right, and you won't go on the threads and complain about how difficult it is.
How it's too hard. You know what I mean? So the difference is, like, I feel like you should die in video games. Like, you should have to try to win, play them. There's a whole market of games for people who want to hold forward and win. It's called walking simulators. Firewatch, Naissance,
all the Telltale games.
Telltales, you know what I mean? So if this game here doesn't appeal to the type of games that you want to play, and you bought it, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I don't ever bash anyone and be like, get good or get wrecked, unless I'm playing For Honor. Me and James are the biggest trolls. But, I feel like I've even given people advice. The way you play Hyper Light Drifter is most people think you have a dash, so you're OP. So you dash around and hit stuff. But the enemies don't have hits done. So you dash up to him, swing, he's hitting you right back. Mm-hmm. So then what do, right? You wait for him to attack, you dash away. Then walk up to him and hit him a couple times. Use the dash defensively at all times. And you have such an advantage over everything on screen. It can get hectic. There can be, like, not going to call it bullet hell because it's not that extreme, but there can be lots of stuff happening. But for the most part, you have every tool you can possibly think of and upgrades and stuff to make the game not
help your argument there, how did you know that to use it defensively?
From playing the game and dying. I died. It wasn't working. So if you die 2 or 3 times and something doesn't work anymore, you think of how to reapproach the situation.
Right.
That's how video games work. And if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, then you're insane, right? That's the definition. I was at PAX. Again, I was playing this game. It's downstairs, my little ornament for Shio. This person was playing Shio in front of me. And it's a platformer, and there was like a fireball, right? So they jumped, blam, hit the fireball. 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 Hey, Mom, this is really tough. Jumped, aha, I made it past fireball, hit the next one. Jumped, blam, hit the fireball. I'm like, what? I wanted to, like, grab the person and shake them and say, please just look at it and figure out what you're doing wrong. Because holding forward and jumping isn't working on your spawn. And I think, like, another game that I thought was actually too easy was Twilight Princess, Zelda. I never died. That game is not
But do you
short.
have to die?
You don't. But it's too easy if every time I get down to 3 hearts, everything I break has a heart in it.
I want there to be, because it's showing that I'm not a good, how should I say this? I want to be challenged. I want to know that I'm good at something and kind of get a reward out of it. Or else